Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. This time out, I'm happy to introduce to you Sweetwater's new keyboard artist. This is Erskine Hawkins. Great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
So, a keyboard artist, you're making videos, you're doing training on keyboards, synthesizers. What kind of things are you up to?
So as far as I know, I'll actually be demoing the new keyboards and even some older keyboards. And so I'll sit down with them, I'll play on them, I'll just figure them out, and then I'll be doing videos that'll go up on the website.
Nice, nice. You have quite a background. You've toured with major artists, Eminem, Rihanna. You've been a music director for different artists and different worship groups and things. And you've also done some programming. Tell us about your background. How'd you get into all this?
Well, I started playing in church, and my dad played piano, and he got my brother and I into music. And then from there, I went to University of North Texas for jazz piano.
Okay.
And then from there, I started working with an R&B artist out of New York named Chrisette Michele, became her music director. And then a Disney artist, Zendaya, and then I was her music director. And then from there, Eminem and Rihanna. With a music director, his name is Adam Blackstone. So I was working with him quite a bit. And that's how I've been doing this thing.
Right, right. So how does a player go about getting into that world of being a music director or a touring keyboardist?
Well, for me, it was about who I knew. My parents were in the military, and my dad was Air Force, so we grew up in a church on the Air Force base. And one of the guys that came through, because we had different musicians coming through all the time that were also in the military, and it was a guy named Stance Mason from New York, and he was an amazing bass player, but when he retired or he left the military, he moved back to New York and started working with the R&B artist I was telling you about. So I said, man, you're working with, oh my gosh, you're working with her? I'm quitting, I'm leaving college, I'm moving to New York, I'm doing this. He's like, man, absolutely not. No, you stay in college, you finish, get your degree, and when you finally graduate, you get your degree, I'll make sure I connect you in some way, shape, or form. I'll do my best to connect you. So when I finally graduated, like this was 3 years later, and I completely forgot all about that. I was like, man, I'm gonna move to New York, I'm gonna see what happens or whatever, and I was there for 2 weeks, and he made good on his promise.
Wow,
yeah.
How about that? That's awesome. So it really is who you know, and the
It's
connections
who you know,
and
yeah.
networking and all those kind of things.
Yep.
So you also did programming for Justin Timberlake, Nicki Minaj. How did you get into that world?
So strangely enough, while I was in college at the University of North Texas, I was also the keyboardist at the Potter's House Church in Dallas with Bishop T.D. Jakes. And then from there, the guy that I worked for, his name was Jamar Jones, and he was a keyboard player extraordinaire, music director for just about everybody. And he is from Philadelphia, and he knew a guy named Adam Blackstone, and Adam Blackstone is the music director for absolutely everybody in the world. So Adam and Jamar are really good friends, and I guess Adam called Jamar to see if, hey man, I've got an artist that needs a keyboard player, can you do it, yada yada yada. And Jamar at this time, he was the executive director of fine arts at this mega church in Dallas, and said I couldn't, I can't do it, but there's a young guy here that you should definitely check out. So that's how I got linked up with Adam Blackstone.
Okay.
And from there, we just kind of built a friendship, and he was like, hey man, I need an intro for this Nicki Minaj performance we're doing for BET, and can you do that? And then I did that, and then later on down the road, hey, we're doing a performance for Justin Timberlake at the AMAs, can you arrange this? And so that's how I wound up doing that. So that was all through the same guy.
Right, right. Yeah. So what does that really entail when you said you were programming for them? What were you actually doing?
Basically, they'll send me the files, let's say from a studio session, and I'll get all the files and I'll have them and I load them up in Pro Tools. And then I sit down and I listen, I listen through speakers and just for a live performance. So that's, they'll send me the studio version of the song. So for live, how do we want this to translate? Because it can't be the same version. In my opinion, it shouldn't be the same version. It should be different. It should be more interesting. There should be more to it. So then, I'll go through in Pro Tools and take out this section and mute these parts and add this, this section here and turn it into a live arrangement. And then after I've arranged it, then I'll sit down and almost replay a lot of the album version. Like you got to find the similar sounds and kind of replay it, and that's the programming part where you're programming sounds that were in the album, and now you're changing them. So you have to find that's the programming part.
It's quite a process.
It's a process, yeah. It takes a while.
Yeah, no doubt. So you studied jazz at University of North Texas. You were the music director for the gospel choir at University of North Texas. You worked at mega churches in the R&B world. How does all that tie together musically?
I think diversity is the key. Like again, I've always prided myself on being extremely diverse. So I've toured with pop artists and rap artists and gospel artists and smooth jazz artists and just a bunch of different genres of music. And I think it's really important to be authentically diverse as opposed to everything kind of sounds the same. Like if I was going to play a country music gig, well, I was touring with a guy named Ray Price. He was a huge country music legend. But in playing that, I can't approach that the same way that I would a pop gig or any other kind of gig. So I think that's how it all kind of ties in together. But it all stems from being in church. And at the church we grew up in, we did all different kinds of music. So I was used to kind of like transitioning and playing. Now we're gonna play this kind of music, and now we'll play this kind of music, and this should sound like salsa today, and this should be this kind of thing. So that's just how I was raised in music.
Right. Did you sit down and actually study those different styles, or did you
Never
just from
studied
listening?
them? Yeah, it was just from listening. In college, I sat down with different books of different styles. There's the Hannon books, and I sat down with those. There's a salsa Hannon, and a rock Hannon, and a blues Hannon, jazz chord Hannon, and a jazz scale Hannon, and then the classical music Hannon. So I had all those in college, and I would sit down and just go through a bunch of different styles. The stride Hannon too. I need to go back through that one. But, yeah, I need to go back through that one. I had it down for a while though, but just wanted to be as diverse as possible. So no matter what, I've known since I was a teenager that I wanted to tour, and I wasn't sure in what capacity, like what kind of artists I'd tour with or whatever. So in school, in high school and college, I definitely worked on making sure that when I got out of school, I'd be ready for any kind of gig. Didn't know what it was going to be.
Right. Yeah, be prepared.
Right.
Then you can take whatever comes along.
Exactly. So that's the way I practiced, and then it just so happens that I've kind of wound up playing in kind of every one of those veins.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges we both face, all of us face here in creating content for these videos, is you have to learn a lot of gear really quickly.
Right.
You've only been doing it a short time, but have you developed any kind of techniques that'll help others learn their equipment quickly?
Well, so far I've only done about 3 videos, and I'll be doing my 4th video in a few days. But I normally start at the quick start manual. Like they put all the highlights in there for like what's new and what's different and what's been improved and and the different models. So I normally just go from number 1 all the way down to the bottom of them, and then from there you start to really just dive deeper into it. It's like, oh, I really like that feature, and oh, this is a cool feature too, and oh, what does that button do? And I go through the manuals and really just kind of like read through it, and sometimes I put the manuals down and just let the sounds lead me.
Right. Have fun with it and just be curious, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Erskine, we're so happy to have you here. The musical background that you bring, the technical background that you bring, the ability for us to do so many more keyboard videos now, and your performance chops. We're really looking forward to seeing some great stuff coming out of those videos.
Awesome.
Man, great to see you.
Yes, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher.